Well, I'll say words
Let's
now.
learn more growth.
Yeah, and honestly, it kind of is. But one cool thing about my section is thanks to Gabe, they put a bunch of articles in my thing. So my COVID
Gotcha,
brain didn't
Gabe.
have to try too hard. So thank you, Gabe. Um, because there's like a lot of things you can do, basically helpful tips that are relevant for cam performers, but honestly, any content creator making video content. So I have
Mhm.
like a little section of just like things you can do if your content gets stolen. Um, and the thing you said earlier, Gabe, really reminded me of what happened to DMP in that their Instagram got stolen, and, like, they were not ever able to get that back,
Mhm.
where it got stolen by, like, the person trying to sell Bitcoin,
Yeah,
and they had, like, 600 followers, totally gone. Now we have 86.
yeah,
So it's, like, a really real thing where, like, your platform can get stolen, and you may never be able to get it back. You might not
yeah.
be able to have that, and then now, like, your livelihood is affected.
Yeah. Well, think about like YouTube, where it's all dependent on the amount of viewers and clicks, right? There's a channel that Mike watched, VFX Artists React. I forget what their channel's
Mhm.
called, but they've had like years of content. They make so much money. They're amazing creators. And one day they woke up, all of their stuff was gone. Like someone
Yeah.
went in and deleted years of their content. And
Yeah.
it's just like, that's, like, the absolute worst nightmare that could happen to a content creator happened to
Yeah.
them.
And also just like not feeling ownership over your own content. I know right now there's a lot of drama happening with like Dungeons and Dragons related
Mhm.
to that. In that there's like this new plan from Wizards of the Coast to like do this open content platform thing. And it's
Mhm.
essentially making it that any content that's ever been made by like creatives in the D&D space that like they can now commodify those resources
Mhm.
and they no longer belong to the content creators
Yeah.
themselves. And we don't know if it'll go through or if it'll change, but I
Yeah.
know that that's like another thing where it's like content creation as it's become like a livelihood and a job for a lot of people. It has in recent years been getting a lot of scary stuff happening to it in that like there's so many unknowns around copyright. There's so many different things that really like impact the work, and you can have your stuff stolen. As you said, you can have someone go into your steal your account and delete all
Mhm.
of your work. Like there's
Mhm.
so much risk associated with the job that is
Yeah.
genuinely scarier than the supernatural stuff.
Yeah.
um
Like, how do you confirm that it's, like, your content? And also, how do you know how much is your content? Like, if you are a video game streamer, right? Like, the
mhm,
core content is this video game, but you are the content.
mhm.
Like, you're the one who's talking about it. So, ugh,
Yeah, a lot
it's
of it ties back to like
stressful.
you're the personality that's like making
Mhm.
this content go far. But
Like,
yeah,
you're
so
welcome.
no, exactly. It's like really well. So a scary thing, it is a very scary thing to have your platform, hard work, and a piece of your identity stolen and exploited. Cam does a fantastic job highlighting this and how stressful that experience would be, as well as just how invasive it is. I still like the one scene where they like go into her actual room, like still haunts me. Like there's just so much
So upsetting.
genuine stress that takes place, and it's all very reminiscent of very real things. Like if we think of doxing, uh,
Mhm.
having your identity stolen, actually deepfake technology, like all this stuff. It's there's something very personal about putting your face at the forefront of your brand, and with that
Mhm.
comes this like inherent danger. That even if someone does not know your name, they would recognize you in public, have access to your personal time, space, and identity. And this film does an amazing job of showcasing just how vulnerable that could be, especially if that content that you're creating is something that society demonizes or just does not
Mhm.
understand. And this is something that content creators and folks that work in the sex industry can both experience. It's something artists and creatives can experience. And all of it ties back to the commodification of any and everything we have and how capitalism preys on all the things that make us great.
Yeah. Gross.
And
Bomb.
yeah. And there's a way that capitalism influences how we see others as well as like things that we consume that gives this feeling of entitlement to the consumer over what they are consuming.
Mm.
So when you end up commodifying a person, the people consuming the content from that person are more likely to feel entitlement over that person.
Mhm.
And that
Like
there's
that
lots of
guy.
yeah, lots of danger associated with that. And essentially, that entitlement can make one, the creator themselves feel very unsafe. They can actively put their lives, their identities, their safety at risk.
Mhm.
So, for this reason, there's a big risk in taking on a job that has your face or body attached to it, especially when an industry that's so heavily stigmatized. Many people who work as creators within the sex industry are at risk for violence from people who think that what they are doing is wrong or feel entitled to them. And that risk can be worth it when the reward is like financial stability and growth that are attached to it, especially when living in a society where wealth is a direct pathway to a higher quality of life, not only for yourself but those you care about. But it's also like when that positive piece of it,
Mhm.
in addition to like your autonomy and your like happiness within that space, are stolen, it makes dealing with it, in addition to like this mental trauma of having like your consent taken away through this exploitation of your privacy, it makes it like not worth it in the sense that your physical safety is now put at risk.
Mhm.
And there's this added layer when thinking of theft through piracy, exploitation from big companies. So thinking of like even campsites that take a cut of
Mhm.
like the performer's check,
Yeah,
and then
she
like
says that too.
yeah, and like aren't there to defend her when things go wrong, but they're still actively receiving money and benefiting over her exploitation, essentially, because like her identity
Mhm.
has been stolen. And then AI or identity theft. The theft of content creators' work is so damaging because it attacks not only their livelihood, but their identity itself, like their personal image, their name. And as a result, like if their actual name is put out, sometimes that can impact their families,
Mhm.
especially when society doesn't think like good things about the career. There's lots of stigma around like content creation in general, but especially around sex work. So
Mhm.
um, it's a different kind of theft when you're stealing from big business, but this isn't that kind of theft. It's the kind of a theft that directly impacts individual people and their ability to survive. I titled this part of my section Helpful Tips That Are Relevant for Camp Performers and honestly any content creator making video content. As I said, Gabe found an article on the ways to combat theft within this industry titled Adult Models How to Fight Piracy and Stolen Content. So, hopefully, this information is helpful to you or someone you know. So, there are a handful of ways that camp performers can protect themselves when creating accounts. And some of these protections are able to be opted into in cam sites themselves. So there's some cam sites that are better than others. One
Mhm.
method of protecting your content is through the DMCA, also known as the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which is a federal law that protects the intellectual property rights of a creator. The DMCA complaint A DMCA complaint is a notice that's sent to the infringing party or a third party playing a role in the infringement. And the DMCA is the first tool in an anti piracy arsenal. But there are some important things to know and a right way of how to do it. So this website kind of goes into like all the details. It also lists like some sites specifically that offer those protections within the actual cam sites. So sites like BongaCam offer DMCA protections on their site and offer even extended protections
Mm.
for when you have to submit requests to Google or other hosts that have pirated content. Um,
Mhm.
so if
They
you,
help you.
yeah, they actually like help you submit claims that your stuff has been stolen and put on other websites without your consent.
That's rad.
Um, that seems like the one based on this article that it links to that has the most going on. BongaCam seems like the one that
Mhm.
has the most protections available, but there are other ones that offer similar protections, just not at the same extent. BongaCam is the only one that also offers Google and web host DMCA requests.
Mhm.
But other ones like Cam with Her, Chatterbait, My Free Cam,
Chatterbait.
Chatterbait. I don't know how to say words.
It's
Chatterbait.
okay.
My Free Cams and Voyeur also offer some protection for creators in that they do offer the DMCA request, just not through Google or the web hosts.
Mhm.
Submitting to Google apparently doesn't remove the content from the internet, but it does keep it from being associated with your name, in that like it will impact that doesn't show up in like your searches. So if someone's looking for you, they'll no longer get links to that other place.
Mhm.
But it doesn't remove it from the internet. It's more the web host one that will actually work to take it down from these other sites because the entire thing is that they're hosting it on their website without consent. The article also goes on to recommend watermarking all content that you create, specifically as just like a good practice for all content creators, because it's
Mhm.
something that can protect you, especially if you copyright your watermark. It's just like an additional thing to say this is actually mine, not yours. Um, so yeah, watermarking your content is a good practice to begin with. It works as a form of promotion and makes it easier to identify your content. Trademarking your watermark is an easy way to provide additional protection, as trademarks hold more legal weight than DMCA alone. Webmasters and companies are more likely to respond to trademark violations, as it is a harsher fine in court. And it's also possible to file foreign trademarks and gain a legal foothold in countries that don't recognize DMCA. So, not all countries recognize DMCA. So, this is kind of like a secondary protection to making sure that your content is yours. And especially internationally, there's lots of countries that don't operate within the same copyright laws. So this is an additional protection that may protect you abroad versus just in the United States.
I just want to say
Um,
we watermark all our stuff. It's right there in the corner.
exactly. So look at us be good. I did a little dance because I was happy about that. I was like, look at us be good. I was like wondering if we did.
Yeah.
So it's positive. So having your content watermarked is just a great way to legally protect yourself and your content. You can also apparently fight piracy through better marketing, which is another thing that I was like, what?
Mhm.
But essentially, through marketing yourself, it is a way to make sure that you're at the top of searches, algorithms, etc., and that the pirated content gains less traction. So one thing that they said is like make a website, make all the social media platforms under your name so that they cannot be co-opted by other people, and just make sure like you have as much control over the identity you're trying to have out there on these sites. So like if it's not your name, that you have claim to all the places that it could exist elsewhere, so that like you're kind of protecting someone making an Instagram account saying it's you and then
Mhm.
putting your content on there and then you not being able to fight it because it looks like it's you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And one last piece of info that seemed important and helpful is that they say that copyright isn't the only law that pirates are non-compliant with. All pirates are also non-compliant with the 2257 record keeping requirements. This is a federal offense and a big deal in the United States specifically. It's also a big deal in a number of other countries as well. Being able to stack the 2257 compliance on top of copyright infringement gives more legal ammunition, essentially, sometimes in jurisdictions where copyright isn't as big of a deal. So it's just another tool within your arsenal to get legal protections, especially like thinking about how in cam they weren't able to get help from the police. Um, the way that you would be able to get help in a lot of instances is through these copyright related laws. You'd
Mhm.
be able to
Cool.
sue, you'd be able to make traction because you have these protections in place. Um, and you'd be able to get these videos taken down.
Mhm. That the
So,
2257 record keeping requirements, like, that's what she tried to do too, because it's like you're when she takes pictures of herself next to her ID, like,
mhm,
and has, like, the time. You do that with Instagram too if you get your account stolen, but even then it
mhm,
was, like, denied 'cause, like, your account's already in file. But yeah, that whole practice of her, showing that she's a real person and
yeah.
having that.
Yeah. Well, that sucks that it wasn't able to work in the movie, but
Mhm.
it did say that it is a good practice to
Yeah.
follow.
It should
Um,
have worked if it wasn't a paranormal situation.
yeah. Okay. Very valid. Very valid. Yes. Okay. So if you don't have a paranormal situation, it should protect you. And the article kind of continues on. There's other things that you can do, but I just kind of felt like those were the most helpful of the things listed. But I highly recommend the article just if that's something you're experiencing. As we said, like it's not going to work all the time. Uh, but the more tools you have in your tool chest,
Mhm.
the more likely you're going to be able to combat these things and get like financial retribution, even like because there's fines that these companies have to pay if they've stolen your stuff.
Mhm.
So
And they hate
the
paying money.
they hate paying money, so you really got to come for their wallets. So the more stuff you have protecting your content, the better. There's another instance where I know there's like TikTok sounds. That's
Mhm.
something like I read about recently. In that like there's people who will copyright famous TikTok sounds
Mhm.
before people like know that they should be doing that. So that like they no longer get the people who like made the sound may not have the actual copyright for it. So they're not able to like market off of it. Um, so that you have to like really, if you're making something, you might not realize it's going to go big or like get viral, but it's, you really want to try to like get trademarks, copyrights, stuff like that as much as possible when you're going to end up making a career out of content creation.
Mhm.
The last terrifying thing that I was going to cover, because one, I didn't know,
Mhm.
and it definitely freaked me out a lot, is deepfake technology and the use of AI. I mean, we saw a little, not deepfake specifically, but like AI and how it does kind of end up being like theft
Mhm.
with this AI art situation. I mean, I'm guilty of participating in the AI art thing. I was
Mhm.
like, this
Me
is
too.
cool. Look how nice I look. It's so cool. And I'm an artist, so it was my bad. I didn't know, but now I do. So I'm not going to do it again. But that
Mhm.
was like a big thing where like artists are very outraged by the fact that like I didn't know that they were stealing people's art off of the internet, and that's how they were making these things. I was like, cool. They taught robots how to draw. I love that for them.
Mhm.
But that's not what it is. They steal art and then they train the robots to replicate the art, and then that essentially devalues the actual art from the original artist, and that's why it's bad. But deepfake does like a similar thing. It uses AI, and it's a technology that's basically used to take a video and put a different person's face into it.
Mhm.
So the last terrifying thing I learned about is how actually very scary deepfake technology is, specifically when it comes to exploiting someone's identity and their image. If you don't know what a deepfake is, a quick Google search will tell you that deepfake is a video of a person in which their face or body has been digitally altered so that they appear to be someone else, typically used maliciously or to spread false information.
Mhm.
The use of deepfake technologies poses obvious threats to identity protection, and in a country that actively demonizes sex work, it can be life threatening. In that, I believe the quote, which I'm going to say later, 96% of deepfake videos on the internet are pornographic.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, they do it to
98%,
celebrities and stuff.
yeah. So it's a lot of people who are impacted by this, and they did not willingly choose to go into those fields. So it is like a blatant disregard for their personal autonomy. Um, so yeah, it's could be life threatening. There's like people who have like lost their jobs for people finding out that they've done sex work. So it's a real thing. So in an article titled "Deepfakes, Revenge Porn, and the Impact on Women" by Shengxi Wang, they go into detail on some of the threats deepfake technology presents. When looking into the film Cam and the follower Tinkerbot, who is openly a tech person, I feel very strongly that if it's not supernatural, it was him.
Mhm.
In that this deepfake technology, code for it is open source. So it's very possible that what took place in the movie was his manipulation of deepfake technology to gain different levels of access to the protagonist's life because he felt entitled to her life.
Mhm.
The reason I think this is because apparently deepfake, as I said, is open source. One reason that fuels the rise of deepfake footage is that many implementations of deepfake algorithms are open source, easily accessible to anyone with basic programming skills and a reliable internet connection. The popular code repository created by an anonymous dash r dash is available on GitHub, for all to use, and this dramatically lowers the barrier for non-experts to utilize the technology. It also opens the possibility for people to weaponize the technology against people they don't like or their enemies. So even though AI techniques like deepfake have many applications, including photo editing, image repair, 3D transformation, unfortunately, their main application today is generating sexually explicit videos for cyber exploitation. According to Deep Trace Report, 96% of deepfake videos on the internet are pornographic videos. Not surprisingly, the main victims of the fake videos are women whose images and likeness are used without their consent and often without their knowledge. So additionally, there's no the reason this like it's already obviously like not a good thing, but the reason it's extra upsetting is because right now at least I couldn't find any evidence of it, that there's no reliable way to detect whether a deep fake is there, whether or not these videos are real. So in creating these videos without a person's consent, there's no reliable way to disprove that they are not real, which ultimately means that like they can create them all they want, with anybody, and then there's no way for that person to be like, that wasn't me, because
Mhm.
there's no way to detect if the deepfake technology is being used. With a combination of things like doxing and deepfake technology, you could really put someone in danger. That's kind of like what I thought of when they did the whole like went into her real room. It was like they were doxing her while under this deepfake technology. Were like pushing barriers and breaking her rules in ways that like she was not consenting to. She did not want
Mhm.
them to show the picture of her brother. She didn't want them to be in her real room. It's like these pushing of barriers to information that is not supposed to be accessible. Um, so there are limitless ways that this technology could be used to harm people. Uh, but the main one that I like really don't know if like people thought about that much, but like you could alter court file like evidence. You could change video footage. And
Mhm.
I just don't understand like why that's not more scary to people. Like
Yeah.
it's all like it's just really wild to me that like you could definitely like alter security. Do you know the movie we watched, the really ridiculous one with the river Styx, and they used
Oh,
all the
yeah. It was Unfriended too.
Unfriended too. That literally could have been deepfake technology. They could
Mhm.
have just used that. Um, within they were all very good programmers. They could have videoed them. That's how they move their faces to make it look like they were doing stuff that they weren't doing.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's just like a lot of implications to like how this technology could be used that are genuinely scary. And I think I did not know that you could change people's voices as well as their face. Like I didn't know you could take any celebrity and put them in any video you wanted them to do. I think that's crazy.
Yeah,
So that's
people
what I
do that
learned.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was like a trend where people were doing videos where it was them, but the face was like a celebrity singing a
Hmm.
song or something. And like when you were talking about how you couldn't convince someone it's not a video of you, it just makes me think of when Alice is like talking to her mom because she like keeps being like, "That's not me." And it's like, I have this video. What are you talking about? I know what my kid looks like. And it's just like, no, that's not me. Like,
Yeah.
so hard
There's
to
so many
explain.
implications. Like you could have you could ruin someone's career. Like you could just
Mhm.
go you could have especially like considering you could have like any politician, you could have them say the most wild things. Maybe
Mhm.
Kanye is a deep fake. I don't know. You know, like he's probably not. But like
No.
I'm just saying
Yeah.
like there's so many you could do so much just by
Yeah.
taking someone's face that if that is their career,
Mhm. Well,
you've
there's like
destroyed it now and there's no way to prove that that wasn't them.
uh-huh.
So you've destroyed it for real. Like there's irreparable damage.
Yeah. Well, you can think about like people who maybe are in vulnerable situations where they're around people who, if they heard or saw a video of them doing something like that, could hurt them, could actually harm
Yeah,
them. Because, like, you know, some religious folks or controlling folks
yeah. You
could
could use it
definitely
as
do that.
blackmail. You could use
Hmm.
there's so many ways that this technology could be used for bad.
Yeah. There's also like this conspiracy that I caught wind of people thinking that something like they don't know where Britney Spears is, and there was all these
Mhm.
posts of Britney Spears and like these videos, but they're like, but that's not Britney Spears. Like they're convinced that they're just showing this other woman to be like happy and doing all this stuff, but it might not be her. I don't know.
Oh
I
gosh.
literally just saw like a few comments of someone being like, "Look at that," and I'm like, I can't be in this conspiracy. I can't. I
I'm not
can't go
gonna lie
down
though,
this.
the technology exists.
It does, and
So it's
unfortunately, it
open
just gave them
source.
so many
Anyone who knows how to
ideas.
code could do it.
Yeah, just gave
So
them so many anyone who's listening to this, don't do it.
yeah.
Don't take our ideas. This is the bad stuff we're telling you about.
Yeah, don't do
Um,
those things. Like it's just there's so many implications for it. You could use it in so many different ways. And it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, there's probably ways you could use it for positives, but there's also so many ways you could use it for negatives. And either way, at the end of the day, it's all about taking the consent away from somebody. And that
mhm,
shouldn't be like what you do for funsies.
mhm.
Uh,
Well,
People
it's
should have
like
autonomy over themselves.
when we did those episodes about, like, the AI or computer things that would generate messages from loved ones that you've lost. It's like you could use a deep fake to, like, see their face and recreate that, and, like, even that has a lot of problems because, like, what are they saying? Like You took their voice away and they're not even here to defend themselves. Like
Yeah,
fucking
thinking
the
about
Maryland
exactly
movie.
the character in the movie even that had passed and they were
Yeah.
actively still profiting and exploiting, or I don't know how to say exploiting. Why do I always say exploitating? It's just like a weird thing my
It's
brain
okay.
does. Exploiting her identity past
Mhm.
like, and she was not there to defend herself.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
just extra messed up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and imagine, like, her family who are dealing with her loss finding this and it still being
Hmm.
live and having to just be like, "What?" Like,
Yeah.
that's not yeah, that's horrifying, and even, like, I didn't even mention it as part of, like, the horrifying things of the film, but your whole conversation about, like, the commodification, how they feel this ownership, like, the viewers feel ownership over them, especially if they're
Yeah.
paying money. So, like, one of the guys, had a lot of money, and so he was always, like, bouncing around to other girls, and depending on who he was interested in, that's the person who's gonna climb the charts because he could give them money, and so then he
Hmm.
felt like you all belong to me because what I say goes. Like, I am in control of your success. I'm in control of you doing anything. I can make or break you. And so you
Yeah.
have to do what I want. You have to be good to me. You have to, like,
Because I could destroy
abide by it.
you.
Yeah. Because I
Yeah.
have the power and you are mine. You
Hmm.
belong to me. And that, like, that was a whole nother horrible thing.
Yeah,
Um,
and one of the articles you shared with me, there was something like that within it too, as well. Just like the fact that you'll have fans in the cam streams who are moderators to make sure your chat doesn't get like
mhm,
inappropriate or upsetting. But and a lot of times the people who like get that trust or like power will
mhm.
feel even more like they'll do so in a way that is uncomfortable and that like they'll cross boundaries or they'll feel like they'll
They're
come at
in.
people with this like I own them so you
Yeah.
can't say that I've removed you from
Uh-huh.
here in like this kind of creepy gross way where it's like they're trying to protect you but the motivation is not positive.
Well, it's like Tinker, because Tinker helped her when she did the fake unaliving. Like, he was a part of
Uh-huh.
that. He was the fake guy commenting to get her to bleed. And so he was like, "Oh, this is us. We're in. We now have this connection. So,
I'm
of
a
course,
part
I
of
can come
this.
see
Yeah.
you in real life. I'm different from them because you let
Hmm.
me in on this, like, secret."
Yeah.
Ugh, what a great film.
So yeah, ultimately the film does a really great job. It was ahead of its time. It was doing a lot. It really,
Mhm.
and the reason it was such a great film is because they didn't kick her out
Yeah. They
of
let it be
the
honest.
scripting. Yeah,
And, like,
exactly.
true, yeah, and it's ahead of its time because, as they had said, the deep fake, like, the hysteria around deep fake didn't come out until, like, they were already in post-production for the film. Like, so she
Yeah,
had no
so
idea.
they
She was like,
already knew.
"Oh, I predicted, like,
Yeah,
this
like
is
this
gonna be."
big AI like scare that's very genuine and real. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be a real problem like in the future, like as stuff progresses. I feel like there's so many ways that it could be manipulated to do wrong. Um,
But
so
also, it's like, you could also have people who could lie, who could say, like, something really crazy on camera and then be like, "That's not me. It's a deep fake."
that's also
Like,
very true. Yeah, like there's like conspiracy theory led things. I think the biggest thing will be like creating a technology that can identify it, and I think that'll solve a lot of the things. Where like they've have created technology that can detect if an AI wrote a paper.
mhm,
That's a thing. There's like little things that are being developed to like detect these things, but until those things are solid, there's
mhm.
probably going to be like this weird middle space where pretty wild stuff happens, and people are like, eh.
I don't think when we first got, like, Photoshop, people, like,
Yeah,
didn't understand how you could do that. Or, like, the ghost photos we covered in, like, our ghost episode
yeah.
of, like, people who are like, "Ghosts are real," and it's like, someone just did some double exposure.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, it's super real. It's like till you understand. And I guess also like another danger that I really think about is the fact that like people won't always like check their research, I
Mhm,
guess. Like they'll
mhm,
see something and be like, that's true. So there's gonna be a lot of people who like make up their minds about things, even if they're real or not. And that's just the unfortunate reality of humanity. So they could
mhm.
see it, it isn't real, but now that's just what they think now. Kind of like tweets
Yeah.
where you have like the fake
People
tweets.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah. Like, unfortunately, our Doja Cat tweet, from our unfriended episode, she did not say those things.
oh no,
The
that would have been
commenter
so
told us
funny.
that, and I was like, "Oh, dang. Got
That would have
us."
been so funny.
got us.
Well, I wish that one was real because that's
Me
hilarious.
too.
See,
Yeah,
it's hard to tell. Even us media analysis people sometimes even mess up too.
we just wanted it to be too real, too
Yeah.
hard. I mean, yeah, people love conspiracy theories, no matter how absurd. Like, there's conspiracy theories that John Benet Ramsey, uh, the young beauty queen who was murdered,
Okay.
is actually Katy Perry.
Oh,
There's like people are gonna believe, like they're gonna you tell them something crazy. People think Avril Lavigne died a long time ago, and this is a new person walking around pretending to be Avril.
yeah.
Same thing with Paul McCartney. Like, like
Or like the
people can believe what they want.
Berenstain
Yes,
Bears.
Mandela
Yeah,
effect.
there's a lot. There's a lot of things.
Yeah,
What is reality ultimately at the end of the day?
it's our
Um,
interpretation of it. And
and people are gonna
anyway,
make up their minds, but hopefully the people who are making up their minds aren't the ones who have like the power to murder people, so
hmm
or ruin their lives.
yeah. So I think we got a lot of soapboxes to be on because there's a lot that's covered. It's very complex. I think at the
Yeah.
heart, the theme and the message of this episode and this film is that sex work is real work and
Hell yeah.
deserving of respect. And you got to cut content creators some slack, and you got to help them. You got to understand that like their content is just as valuable, and don't steal it. Don't pay for the stuff. Okay, pay for an OnlyFans.
Yeah. Get it from the source.
Support them so they can keep doing it. Especially if you like someone, you're like, I like the way you do that. Amazing. Support
Yeah.
them, but also know they are a professional. Like,
Yeah, they're
whatever you
not
do,
like your
they're
best
not for
friend
you.
or
They
your
don't know you.
partner. Like
They don't want you.
they don't know you like that. You're paying for
Yeah.
a service.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I just had that conversation with my partner. It was like, if you had OnlyFans, would I have to pay for it? And I was like, yeah. I was like, you get other stuff for free,
But
but if
this
you're gonna get
version
my
is
OnlyFans, you gotta pay for it.
yeah, this is a
You're paying for a service like everybody else.
yeah.
Okay, like
That's
I don't.
super
What
real.
is this?
Yeah, it's a different version of you, so obviously.
Yeah, you gotta pay for her. Somebody else. I do not have one.
Yeah.
Uh, again, it'd be really hard to create content so regularly. I'm just like in
Yeah.
awe of them.
Yeah, we already have like one whole podcast and YouTube show. It would just be a
Yeah,
lot to like add additional. You already do like 20 jobs,
I
Gabe.
do so many
So
jobs. I couldn't add that job as lucrative as it could be. Yeah,
yeah.
so I'll just complete envy to anyone in the sex worker field and content creating field. Like,
Yeah.
y'all
It's a
are
lot of work.
amazing.
Nothing but respect.
Good job. Definitely go watch the film. Let us know what you think of the film. We have 2 more episodes left of our New Year, New Me. I hope you enjoy them. They're pretty
It's true.
fun. Then we'll start a new series in February. And yeah, I think it's a good kickoff to the new year, revisiting some stuff, treading new ground, seeing how it's going. Pretty fun.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. Good stuff.
Yeah. Like and subscribe, support these content creators
Yeah.
so we can keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And
We don't
make
make
sure you check
money.
out our watermark up at the top.
Yeah, because that makes it real.
It is this belongs to us.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, to get married.
Lead your kids.
Okay, bye.